Hi, everyone. Today, I'd like to talk about this narrative I'm beginning to see pushed through the media, definitely lately, about fast fashion being the cause of Canada's textile waste problem. And I'd really like to correct that or offer a different narrative here because I have a feeling that what's happening is that fast fashion is being made as an easy scapegoat to give to the public so that we don't have to tell them what really went wrong in this industry. Fast fashion did not cause Canada's textile waste crisis, and I'd like to clear the air on that right away. I will say fast fashion has had a negative impact on Canada's manufacturing sector. It had a negative impact on the commodity price of used clothing globally and on how Canada's viewed on the world stage globally in terms of fashion because of our consumption patterns with fashion now because of fast fashion. But now I'm starting to hear a lot of blame being put on the general public for purchasing fast fashion as if that is the only thing that's ruined Canada's textile waste sector. That's not true. And don't let them put the blame on you. How convenient to blame a general public that's been kept, where the information's kept hidden from them all of these years, and now we're going to blame them for the failures of the industry, especially when you criticize the general public for their buying patterns or for buying fast fashion when most families can't afford to buy anything else. How cruel is that? And that is not what's caused this industry problem. The funny thing is, though, some of the organizations or the people that are blaming fast fashion or blaming consumer behavior for our problems, the real narrative maybe doesn't reflect very well on them. So it serves them for you to get the blame. It serves them for H&M and Joe Fresh getting the blame. When the Joe Fresh and H&M did not cause Canada's textile waste problem, and neither did you by buying their stuff. I'll tell you what caused Canada's textile waste problem: a lack of innovation. Because if we had new green technology in Canada, like already exists and is being utilized widely all over Europe and other places of the world, if we had that, you could buy all the fast fashion you want. You can change your wardrobe every single week. You can wear something once and toss it in the bin, and it wouldn't matter because we would have a solution for that waste. So the reason Canada has a problem is that we never innovated. We never brought in new green technology. As a matter of fact, special interest groups worked very hard to undermine that development, because the industry has been dominated by literally one or two companies where their entire business model is based on export to East Africa specifically, but just export in general. So because the export market did very well exporting, they had no interest in innovating in any other way. So anything that deviated from their export model, they maligned very, very quickly. So then when Canadians started to buy fast fashion and the quality of our clothing went down, but the quantity went up, now these exporters had a problem because the very countries they depended on were starting to close their ports and saying, we don't want your stuff anymore because the quality is getting worse. So in that sense, fast fashion did have a negative impact, that it got us to this problem faster. But at the same time, they weren't the cause of the problem. Because like I said, had we invested in infrastructure 20 years ago for new green technology, we could be wearing potato sacks and it wouldn't matter because we could turn those potato sack clothing into a myriad of other products. So therefore you could keep buying, keep, getting that economy burning, keep the wheels turning, and as much as you want, buy all the t-shirts you want, all the shoes that you want, because we have a waste system, we have a recycling system to fix all that, and Canada doesn't. Canada never implemented new green technology for textiles. They never recycled, but all the charities that collected used to use the word recycling. They would collect from you and to prop up the reuse sector, but they never said that to you, did they? They said, this is a textile recycling program. We're recycling your clothes. They were not. They were misusing that word. So now politicians hear that, the general public hear that, and they think, wow, not only are they recycling, which they're not, but it's helping a charity. It's helping a charity. So let's just let charities dominate this sector. And what do charities, function? A charity's function is to fulfill its mandate, and its mandate is usually to generate funds for research or to offer social services of some kind. And they're looking to fund those operations. But their main interest, their main development is in the social issues that they're trying to champion, not in the development of a sector, building trade deals overseas, and protecting commodity stability. Those aren't functions of a charity. And yet those things are very, very important. Research and development, those things are very important when we're talking about developing a sector, especially when jobs are dependent on that sector. So what we've done is we handed a quasi-monopoly to literally just a handful of charities who had a mandate to cure disease or to offer a social service, but we're not interested in research and development or industry development because that's not their mandate. And yet we handed them an industry, and they handed their industry over to their one or two buyers that dominate all of the export sector, and then wonder why nothing ever got better, why we never had innovation. So then now when municipalities are starting to do their homework and realize how much clothes we actually have, everyone's looking for someone to blame, and it's just easier to blame you, to say you buy too much and the stuff you buy isn't good enough and and that's not the truth. Let's blame Joe Fresh because it's easy. Let's blame H&M because it's easy. But it's not the whole truth. Yes, fast fashion, they've played a part. Yes, they've impacted our commodity price. Yes, no one wants Canadian clothes anymore because they know that we only wear fast fashion. Yeah, all that stuff is true. But that's not what caused our waste crisis. Because we could be inundated with all this terrible quality clothes, and if we had the green tech, we could have turned it into something else. And now that we're so late to the game, because, okay, so let's just get the machines. Sure. But given Canada's labor costs and hydro and WSIB and insurance and everything else small businesses have to pay for in order to manufacture, what can we make enough of where we use enough textiles that we're actually making a dent in our problem that we can sell? What can we make now that we can sell at a high enough price to pay for all these expenses, right? And that's not already being made by China for much, much cheaper. That's the dilemma. What can we make that China's not already making a lot cheaper than we can with brand new material? And is that your fault too? Like, is that the consumer's fault as well? So the problem is that we don't want to blame charities for not being innovative with the private sector, right? They've tried to malign the private sector that actually does do research and development in order to keep their market share. But them having that big market share is why we never got any research and development. We've never expanded. We've never developed emerging markets when we started having struggles in East Africa, which we've been having a long time. For 6 years, I've been hearing East Africa beg us to stop, but we never found another solution because lobbyists were working so hard to keep that status quo. So then when 6 years ago, I joined the industry and I advocated for municipal involvement and I advocated for new green tech, I was maligned. Not only maligned, some municipalities actually have imposed bylaws where for-profit family businesses are not allowed to operate. Can you imagine that? That's actually allowed. So, for example, in Mississauga, and not just Mississauga, but Mississauga is an example, unless you're a registered charity, you're not allowed to get a permit for a bin. So, and because getting involved in used clothing collection, between the bins, the trucks, the drivers, everything else costs it's astronomical, the amount of money it costs to run this program. There's only a handful of charities that have that kind of money. So they end up dominating everything. So only a few charities benefit from your used clothing. They dominate the sector and they're not developing the sector, which is why we're in all this trouble. But then when you see me representing a for-profit family big business, you think you're evil, you're the devil because you're the private sector. I only want to support registered charities. And that's why you don't have a job, because they're not involved in job creation. They're not involved in whatever. So if you want to see this industry expand, then we need to innovate. We need support for green tech. We need support of the private sector. The private sector needs to support itself and support each other. And we need to put a lot of energy on R&D and to catch up, because we're 25 years behind the times because we've propped it up, that status quo. So don't blame H&M, don't blame, fast fashion, or the fact that the general public can't afford to shop outside of fast fashion. That's not their fault they're in this economic situation. It's not their fault, you know what I mean, that the retail patterns have become what they are. This is the reality that we're in. And had we had an intelligent waste management solution, it wouldn't matter that people bought fast fashion, because we would have a solution for that waste. So don't let them blame you. It is not your fault. Have a great day.